All right. We are back in beautiful Belmar, New Jersey at the Grit Won't Quit podcast studio. I have a special guest on today. I got Big D from Dan from the Big D podcast. He has a coaching company. He's done a ton over the last 20 years. He is a business maverick out there. And I was glad to get him on. When he reached out, we kind of coordinated. And I wanted to get him on quick because it's going to be a great episode. Dan, good morning. How are you today?
Good, man. How you doing?
Excellent. Thanks for coming on today. I know it was a little bit of a commute, and I'm sorry about the traffic, but I'm glad you're here. So you've done a lot in your business career.
Yeah.
You started out in construction, correct?
Yeah. So construction for 26 years, 17 years old, opened my first company.
What made you want to do that at 17 years old?
So I grew up from humble beginnings, and my parents didn't have much. They offered us as much as they can. We grew up in an environment where you had more week at the end of the money, and that wasn't something I wanted to do. So I realized
never heard that one before, but
yeah. So most people in today's world, 80% of people in today's world have more week at the end of the money. So what I learned early on in life was if I paid my employees on Monday, they would have to stretch it all the way till Sunday. But most people pay people on Friday and it's gone by Monday. So I learned that principle super quickly to not only help my employees come to work on Monday, but at the same time help them manage their money, because most people have poor management skills with money. So anyway, got involved in business because I knew that the secret wasn't getting a job. Nobody in my life that had a job was rich, and I thought hey, I want to be rich. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I was on this whole rich realm. And when I was young, I thought rich was money. Rich was cars, 24 years old, 2 Escalades, S55 AMG, 4,000 square foot house, youngest kid on the block, as old as my neighbor's children, owning the house, thinking I'm a drug dealer, right? But I was just a hustler, and I did what I had to do. And I chased money. Remember MTV Cribs? Mm-hmm. Right? So when we were younger, we would watch these episodes of MTV Cribs. We would see the big houses. We would see the cars. We would see all this crazy shit. And we'd be like, hey, that's success. So from 1999 to 2007, I chased success where I thought it was money. Mm-hmm. And 2007 happened, the economy crashed, I lost everything. 24 years old, going bankrupt. So I made a couple $1 million by that time. So I knew how to make money. I just didn't know how to keep it. And from that point moving forward, after the bankruptcy, it taught me a lot. It taught me that I have to humble myself, put myself in a position to chase purpose and passion versus money. So from that point moving forward, I made money secondary. Built a couple construction companies along the way. Sold a couple of them. Bought another construction company, which was actually one of my competitors back in 2014. Okay. I don't know if you know the term cooked books, but I bought a company with cookbooks. Everything looked amazing. Accountant, lawyer, everyone looked at it. I purchased the company. The day I closed, I come to realize about 2 weeks later that the company is multi-million dollars in debt, because all the money that I was supposed to get was already exchanged, but it wasn't inserted in QuickBooks. Oh, what a mess, dude.
So you bought something where there was nothing.
Nothing.
And you owed a lot of product.
Yeah.
And your product cost on top of your labor cost.
Yeah, so I bought a construction company, which was my competitor. Yeah. And there was all these signed contracts, all this money that was due. But what happened was him and his wife were going through a divorce. His whole spreadsheet of showing, what the receivables were never put into the spreadsheet. So when I start calling these customers, hey, I'm the new owner, blah, 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 I want to sit down with you. And, it looks like, this is where we're at. No, we already paid that. Customer after customer after customer. I'm like, shit, right?
So
this was Sandy money. This was REM money. So now I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to get in trouble with can I curse?
Yeah.
We're going to get in trouble with the federal government here because of what's going on. So I immediately went to the prosecutor's office. I'm like, listen, this fraud was not committed by me. And this guy fled to Florida. There's laws where, in Florida, you can't get in trouble. So I'm actually a Florida resident. I live in Florida. I live in Jersey. My residence is in Florida, but I come back and forth to Jersey. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he moves to Florida. There's nothing I could do. About 2 years, I try to keep it alive. So I start just stashing cash. I don't know if you remember, but maybe 2016, News Channel 12 comes to my office. I had a safe in my office with $250,000 in it, and they blew the safe up and took it out of the floor. So now all my cash is gone. This company's sinking.
Why did they come in?
So who came in was I had a guy who was working with me, one of my employees. He had a bad gambling problem.
Okay.
And I guess he owed his bookie tons of money. And he told him that there was a safe at the office, gave him the code to the garage, came in, boom. He's the only guy that after the polygraph test, he never showed back up. So, the story went well put together, hired private investigators, everything. But again, I'm on a hook for all this.
Yeah.
Right? So legal battle.
So you sustained 3 huge things. You had the bankruptcy, then
I had to bankrupt that company that I bought.
That's what I'm saying. The guy that would fraud the company.
And the robbery. Yeah. And during all that time, I'm getting divorced, right? Okay. So my life is literally in turmoil. So I love when people go, "Oh, my life sucks. It's so hard." Let's trade, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, one thing matters. It's grit, resilience. You're going to go after it. I know what I want to do.
Yep.
I can cry about it or I can go after it.
Yeah.
So then I built another company over the next 7 years or however long it was. Got rid of that company, sold that company, and I decided I'm a master of someone who can get through something.
Yep.
So most people can't. How do I take this to the market? How do I teach people to be their best? Become their best, push, at all certain levels. And some people might not like me because I'm super honest, but that's how I've grown through myself. If you don't like what I have to say, too bad, because it's what you need to hear. So you're going to find people, we were just talking about someone about that, so you're going to find people who are super resistant on what you have to deliver, but those who want to receive it because they've seen your track record, they're going to excel the highest levels of their life.
Yep. And so now you started the coaching off all this stuff that's happened and all this craziness over the last 20 years, and now you're coaching individual people to be the better self for them, for their growth.
Correct.
And then you started a podcast, Big D podcast, and that's doing very well.
Yeah, so I have 2 podcasts. I have the Intrepidus podcast. That's the Latin word of fearless. We've had that podcast. I have a co-host, Anthony. We've had that podcast for 2 years. We took a little bit of a break because we were renting a studio, and then we had to build a new studio. So we're at episode 65 with that consecutively. We did 4 episodes, took about a year break, built the studio, and now we've been consecutive every Tuesday that comes out. So we interview business owners and we talk about through the inception of your company, how did you get through the fear? What do you deal with fearfully every day? It'd be great to have you on as well.
Awesome.
And going through all the motions and what keeps you up at night. What are your goals? What kind of things have you been through that have been major setbacks? And here's why. The person listening on the other side feels why is this happening to me? When you can have a similar story and hear other people go through the same stuff, because most people don't realize that all these things that happen in our life happen to everybody, but at different magnitudes. So we started this podcast for that reason, to help the next entrepreneur, the next business owner understand, or, the wantrepreneur, the person who wants to do it but just can't do it, how they can go out there and do it. And then the Big D podcast, I'm actually 52 weeks, man. Episode 52 is coming out. So 1 year exactly it's been for the Big D podcast. Mm-hmm. I hired my coach. I've had a coach for the last 15 years, but I hired the most expensive coach I've ever had in my life. And, I said, listen, I'm at a point in my life right now where I just need to excel. I feel stuck. I'm not delivering. I'm not bringing to market everything that I have to offer. So that's why, I took my coaching to the next level. I started a podcast platform to make awareness. And the Big D podcast is all about relentless execution, freedom, and wealth. And it talks about what the wealth principles are. It's not money. Money has to be secondary. It talks about executing relentlessly. You got to keep going no matter what. And it talks about the time freedom that everybody tries to say that they want in life, but they never ever have. Because they're so buried in their life and seeing all this stuff. And one thing that we have to realize is there's no stopwatch on life. And most people don't realize that. We don't know. There's some day is not a day of the week. So we have to make sure that whatever we want to do it now, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. So that's a focus on that podcast. And what I do with coaching is I have 3 different levels. I do a mastermind, which is quarterly. So you sign up for a year. We get together once a quarter, live for 1 whole day, a bunch of entrepreneurs. And I show you how to scale your businesses. I show you what you need to do. Then we do, on those off months, we do a webinar where it's a group webinar, open questions. And my goal is to help that entrepreneur grow. And I can guarantee that you'll have a 2 to 3x growth in the 12 months just being in that unit, as long as you're doing what you need to do. How many people plug into networking events and all this different stuff, but they go for all the wrong reasons? They never experience growth because they're not taking themselves to the places or connecting with the people they need to be with. So that's why I have this group of just entrepreneurs, because like-minded people can help each other grow.
Sure.
And then my second coaching program is, any business owner, service-based business, anything. Most people don't have processes and systems involved in their business. They're the bottleneck of their business. They're doing everything, working 80 hours a week. Like, how do we stop this? The whole goal is to own a business and be able to sell it. Like, if your business isn't sellable, it's a job.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, how do we create something that's of value so that you could step away, create your brand? You may be the face of your business, but if someone were to buy your business, the person's buying the value that your business brings to the market. They're not buying you. And then the third thing I have is what's called a Builder Accelerator program. I show that, like, how many guys are a contractor, kitchen remodeler, bathroom remodeler, they're working, making $50,000 a year owning their own business, glorified job, right? Working 80 hours a week. I show them how to make $200,000 to $500,000, in a year, based on just doing the right things in business and not doing the small stuff, doing the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, you got to get people out of that mindset too, because that's, I think you go back to earlier conversations. I think when you have some of those people, they're comfortable in that range. They're comfortable doing this, maybe the smaller jobs, not taking on the bigger risk. But again, I think when you look at it, a customer's a customer, right? The customer who's spending X amount is still going to call you the same amount as the customer who's spending 5X of that.
well, so I think the smaller jobs are actually harder because smaller jobs, less profit, customers expect more. You end up doing more. You run into a problem, it's hard to charge more because the budgets are lower. So I teach people how, it's called the Builder Accelerator program. Like, let me show you how to buy a piece of land, how to develop your own house, spec home. So you don't even have a client.
Okay.
You build the house, your profit margins work on paper before you buy the land, and I show you how you can have a $200,000+ profit in 12 to 18 months, or I work with you until you do. Because at the end of the day, there's no risk because you're not dealing with a person. You'll always be able to sell it for something because our margins are tight enough. That's where you make the real money. Everyone wants to flip a house. You don't make money flipping houses. You don't make, real estate agents, like the top real estate agents, who are they? They're the brokers. They have everybody working for them. The average realtor is going to make $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, but you want to make big stuff in the real estate world or in the construction world, you got to be a developer. You got to build.
And you've done that yourself.
Yeah.
So you know how to do it.
Yeah, over 50 custom homes over the last 26
Wow.
years, 600 plus renovations, like tons.
So I mean, it's great insight for these guys that can learn from you.
Yeah.
Now, what's the next evolution in your relentless execution?
So my biggest thing right now is I'm getting on a lot of stages, a lot of different opportunities to speak, and
Just remember you were here.
Yeah.
And you go when you go to those big stages. You remember you were on Grit Won't Quit.
You come with me. I talked about to bring you all the time, bro. We'll do it together. For me, like, I love bringing people with me, and I think I'll get back to what's next. But I think a common problem in this world is we all want to grow, but we want to take our surrounding with us, like our friends, because we want them to do as good as us, and that oftentimes is what holds you back. Most people want you to carry them on their back. They're not going to run with you. So by being able to separate those who are headed to a common future versus those who have a common past is the biggest holdback in success. So you're welcome, bro. Let's roll and do whatever we got to do. So what's next for me is, my end goal is just to be on stage and help inspire people to be their absolute best. And, I just did an event last week in Philly. I have an event coming up. I got October 24th, I have an event. November 6th, I have an event. I'll be in actually Aruba, and I'll be speaking in Aruba.
The business owners there?
Yeah, and I'll be on a podcast in Aruba as well, just in November. And then December, I got an event in New York City. So, like, all this stuff is just starting to compile. Like, the floodgates are just opening up. And I think it's by being vulnerable and sharing the story of what happened and the whole opening up everything and showing people, like this is real life. Like, most people want to teach a program or talk in front of the stage about something they've never been through to try to sell something that they can't back up. I've been through it, man. So
you lived it.
No matter what you're going through, like, let's fight together.
That's great.
Yeah.
And are the clients seeing great value in it?
Yeah, I mean, my testimonials from my clients are incredible, and just their growth alone. I think the first thing that I really enjoy seeing is their personal development, how they grow through it. I make all my clients read a book a month, whether it's audio book or whatever, and then we go back and we figure out what did you learn from that book. Now, what's the next book based on where you're growing.
And you have like favorite business books that you and personal growth books that you're giving them?
Everyone's different. So
sure.
I've read over like 600-700 books in my library. So I know depending on who I'm talking to and how I'm dealing with them, like what book should be first, and then where we should go from there. My one client just texted me today on my way here, and he's showing me a screenshot of all his appointments.
Mm-hmm.
So his business was stuck. Like he was just like he wasn't turning business, and now he's like, dude, I'm making like $3,400 in profit this week. I wasn't even making that a month when I hired you.
Wow.
So and that's like 90 days later.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
so
a
you
huge
gotta
increase.
you gotta get people out. Most people are in their own mess. It's like when you're in a shitty relationship, right? You think everything's good, but the outside world sees how shitty it is. It's the same thing with a business owner. Like when you're stuck in your mess, like you don't realize how shitty it is until like everybody else out there goes like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
But you have to be like willing enough to be like, "Hey,
You got to make a change.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Help me."
Yep.
And we pay for high school, we pay for college, we pay for all this stuff, but what does that really do for you? When you're in business, if you're not paying for someone to help you, someone just asked me the question the other day. They're like, what's the biggest thing that you would change over the last 26 years? And I said, asking for help. If I got this. Everyone says, I got this. They want to do it themselves. They don't want help. They want to go through the trial and error. But why wouldn't you just hire someone who's been through it, who can excel your growth in such a short amount of time by helping you avoid the things that they know you're going to go through? But most people don't want to spend the money on them, invest in themselves,
That's true. I've done it myself where I'm like, you just stuck in it, and I've said to people too, I gotta fix this and get out of it and then move on. But now I try to delegate much more than I ever have. Like I remember when I first started 15 years ago, and I remember saying, someone said to me, "Oh, you got to get someone to help you answer your phones." And I said, "The customers need to talk to me." I remember saying that, and I was like, "That sounds crazy now."
Yeah.
Like I was like, I remember saying to this guy, and the guy was very successful, and he had a business for 20 years, and he was older than me, and he said to me, "Tommy, you got to stop answering." Like, I go, "They need to talk to me. They will only talk to me. They can't talk to my staff." And he's like, he kind of just chuckled. And then like 5 years later, I finally realized like I got to get an admin, and I got an admin, and I said to him, I went back to him, I said, I got rid of my second phone, and he laughed and he goes, "You finally saw it, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I was so hell bent that the customer could only talk to me. Now I'm like, I want the customer to reach out to the specific person who could help them the best, so that they get the best customer experience with us.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems in business, and I think it's the most selfish thing that every business owner says is, I wish I had another one of me. Nobody could do it as good as me. Like at the end of the day, we suck, right? Like we think we're good, but there's so many people out there. Like let's say that there's 5 different things that we have to implement in our business every day, whether it's answering the phone, sending emails, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's management, whatever it is. Like we are not able to be good at all of them.
No.
But if we find one person in every one of those areas that excels, our business will go to higher levels. But every business owner's got this egotistical thought where like, I wish I could find another one of me. And I tell them, I go, you suck. You know why you suck? Because you're a master of all of them in your mind, but there's somebody who will blow you away if you just gave them a chance. Yeah. And I think another thing that business owners have a problem with is hiring up, right?
Yeah.
How can I get the cheapest labor in here to help me? That way I could keep my profits. At the end of the day, if you pay, let's say you paid 3 people for 8 or for 6, whatever, instead of 3 people for 3, the execution on the end of that will be super because those people are worth that.
Yeah.
But they'll
get it done.
Yeah, let me bring the lowest guy in.
It's hard because I think a lot of for me, I've been the clients that I deal with, a lot of small businesses don't really have it. They have to have the foresight to see it a year or 18 months down the line, and they're like, is it going to work? Is it going to give me this desire? But I agree with you. I think that, again, when we had one person working at Wingman, me and one person couldn't do what 20 of us do now.
Yeah.
And it took time. It took took time. It took training. And again, most entrepreneurs, especially most small business entrepreneurs, they're not really good. They're not really good at training. They know how to do things in their head. It's not documented. It's not, like, again, right now, we're in the process of franchising Wingman, so I'm doing videos
I saw that.
so that we could start to, so that there's a training module that says, how do you do this? How do you set this up? And it's hard. It's like, I did five videos yesterday, and I was worn out. I was like, in my head, it just makes sense. You just do this. But like, to start really documenting everything so that, again, we have something at the end of the day where
KPIs,
someone can take out with them and say,
SOPs,
this is how it's done.
Yeah. It's super important, and understanding that. So when you look at where you were when you first started, and you were burnt out, and everything you had to do, and you had to look forward. I think most people go like, "Well, what if it doesn't work?" And I always say like, "What if it does?"
Yeah.
Like if it does work, where will you be? Like you won't know until you actually participate, but you can always go back to what you were doing if it doesn't work. What are you really going to lose? But as an entrepreneur, like, so you say like all these small business entrepreneurs, I truly believe that small business owners are not entrepreneurs because they have no lifestyle. They have nothing.
Yeah, they have a job.
They literally work 7 days a week. They're buried. They're stressed. They have no lifestyle. Why do you become an entrepreneur? Is because you don't want to work every day and you want time freedom to do things when you want, when you can. But when does that happen? Very, very rarely. So at the end of the day, like they want to be an entrepreneur. They call themselves an entrepreneur. But now, like, look, you're franchising yourself out. You're going out. So 2, 3, 4, 5 franchises in the next 5 years. Like, hey, you don't have to be here no more. Wingman is the brand. You step away. You're wherever. Let's say you're in Aruba, you're in Florida, wherever, and your business is operating. You're getting a piece. You're doing everything you got to do. That's an entrepreneur who doesn't have to answer the phone, doesn't have to stress. You can be present with their family or whoever it is,
And, I think it takes time. And I think a lot of that what if it doesn't work? I think that happens more times than
for
not.
Everybody.
And again, I'm sure along the way you felt that way. I felt that way. Like, what if, and then you're right. What if it does work? Or as you start seeing it work, you're like, I got to double down. Like, there's always one more position or 3 more positions that you really at a growing business can hire, but you got to start to think about it. All right, well, we're gonna invest in this person. We're gonna invest in that person. We're gonna start doing this, and then you have to just kind of keep feeding the monster.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times too is like the way that we look at it is most people don't look at the overall picture of what can and cannot happen in their business. And they don't see themselves graduating to the next level. They don't trust other people to come in and be able to operate at higher levels because they want to control everything.
Yeah.
So being able to just kind of sit back and let things go. But when you look at it, like, why do most business owners fail? Because they look at what the other people are doing, the other guys in their industry. How are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You're better off looking at, okay, here's my business today. How can I take tomorrow to the next step? Because if you're focusing on what everybody else is doing, they did everything that you're trying to do to get there, but you're watching them.
Yeah.
Right? Or at the same time, like, oh man, I got 10,000 followers on. That's amazing. That's great. Like, okay, you have 10,000 followers, but to those 10,000 people, what is the value you're bringing to them? What are those 10,000 people? What's their net worth? So it's not about your following, it's about your impact. Mm-hmm. So I know people who have 2,000 followers on Instagram that make millions of dollars a year, but then I know people who have 50,000 followers that make nothing.
Yeah, again, you can have 50,000 followers and that don't interact with your business. Mm-hmm. I always laugh when I see someone with a huge following and they get like 14 likes, and it's like,
right?
Who are these people? Like, who's this big following if you get 14 likes on a post?
Or like you got 200,000 followers and you're getting like 3,000 views on your video. Like, something's not right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But the average person, I don't think ever thinks about that. Like, but it's true. And again, even like when you think about like your business that you bought back that was a failure, like you probably thought this guy had it all together, and meanwhile it was a house of cards.
Yeah.
So everybody should worry about themselves, worry about what last year was, what this year is, and where you want to go next year, because I think that'll get people to stop worrying about the outside environment, things you can't control what you can control.
So it's always like, how do I do that? So I always talk about Michael Jordan. So everyone looks at Michael Jordan, they go, hey, he's the GOAT, he's the best, greatest of all time. He had an amazing team, he was on the Bills, his coach Phil was dynamic, but it wasn't Phil, it was Tim Grover. Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's coach. outside the basketball court. Inside the court, it was Phil, right? So nobody sees that. Anyone who's ever created greatness in this world didn't do it themselves. They had somebody else help them and guide them, a mentor, bringing them along the way. But there's like this place in life where we're like between our 20s and 30s where like we don't know how to put our pride in our back pocket, and we don't know how to say, okay, I do need a mentor and I do want someone. Like, you're going to spend and waste so much time and money trying to figure it out, but you can spend a fraction of that on somebody who can actually guarantee results. And I'm not talking about a program where you got to sit there on webinars. I'm talking about someone who's going to dig in with you, do what they got to do. And that's the whole field of what I'm doing. Like, stop wasting time, stop wasting money. I guarantee, like, you're going to grow, or I'm going to work with you till you do. Like, that's a personal guarantee.
That's great.
As long as you're doing what you need to do, we're going to grow together.
That's awesome.
Other coaches, there's coaches that are higher calibers that like, hey, your business is doing $2 million. We're going to take it to $10 million. You're going to pay me, but I'm also going to get a percentage of your growth. I don't do that because at the end of the day, I don't want to be involved in all that. And I feel like that can get things fishy. I want you to grow as big as you want to grow. And I want you to refer me to the next guy. I don't want to be a part of your business. I just want to show you how you can be the master and the best at whatever it is. And again, I've been through it. I understand. And every people go, well, every business is different. You're from construction. I go, every business is the same. It's all the same. If you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people, and you have to figure out what you should be doing, what they should be doing, and how you can bring this all together, and how you can watch everything on growth charts,
Awesome. I love it. Dan, this was a great conversation today. Let people know where they can find you if they want to learn more about what you do, how you do it, and more about this conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, guys. So my biggest platform where I'm the most active is Instagram. So just a little education real quick as we're closing here on social media. Over the last 12 months, I've spent time building all brand new social media platforms. My coach, so every coach has a coach, remember that. So my coach said, listen, rebuild every single platform. And I go, well, why is this one taking off and why isn't that one taking off? He goes, naturally in the realm, if you look at anyone who's super successful, they have a big Facebook following, they have a big LinkedIn following, they have a big Instagram following, but they only have one. So whatever that social platform is that's growing for you, focus on that social platform. That's where you want to focus. Don't worry about them all trying to grow. Don't worry about which ones are going to pay you the most. I can tell you right now that YouTube is the most important because YouTube is going to be something that's going to help you long term, and it's going to be there forever, and people always find it, but it's the hardest. And it's something that you have to work on over time. Most people don't hit it for 7, 10, 15 years, but then it accelerates. So figure out if Facebook's going to be your thing, Instagram's going to be your thing, LinkedIn's going to be your thing. Still post on everything, but wherever your most attraction's coming from and your biggest audience is, spend most of your time there answering those people, working with those people, because that's going to bring you to the next level. And also make sure you do YouTube. But so as far as connecting with me, Instagram is my biggest platform. That's where I spend most of my time. Big Dan Official. You can also check me out at bigdcoaching.com. And right now we're redoing that entire funnel, but it's going to take you to one of my programs right now. But in the next couple of weeks, probably by the time this episode comes out, we'll have multiple things based off of that program. And you can connect with me. Message me on Instagram. Anything you need. I give free advice, and I'll help you and get you out of any position you are. And if you want to ever work with me, just check it out.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming in today. This was a great conversation.
Appreciate it.
Keep doing great things.
Thank you, man.